Probably you don't. I tell you what it is. Warming is definitely, these ecosystems cannot survive anymore of these changes that are happening. Signs here in our biosphere. Hi, here is Markku Wilenius, the Traveling Futures. Do you know what is the largest living structure on Earth? Probably you don't. I tell you what it is. It's the Great Barrier Reef, stretching 1,400 miles on the western coast of Australia. Now, these coral reefs, as this one, are now in danger. And you know why? It is because the changes that we are causing in the climate. Climate change, the global warming, the gradual warming of the atmosphere has now another implication, which is that it is not only the air that is warming up, it's also the sea. And remember, the seas around the world comprises something like 70% of the coverage of the earth. And that means that what happens in the seas is pretty important. Now, we know that there is a mechanism in the seas that when the temperature changes and the waters become warmer, it have all kinds of effects. Now, coral reefs are the most diverse ecosystems in the whole world. In addition to that, they are beautiful to look. There are all kinds of colors when you go closer to the corals. And corals are all around the world in the southern hemisphere where there is a water. And what we have seen is that those reefs with coral, they are bleaching. They are becoming whitish, but not only that they come to white, they actually become dead. Because the white is the sign that there is no life in the corals anymore. And as I said, they are living creatures. They are not minerals or anything like that. But when this bleaching takes place, which always happens if there is a lot of exceptionally warm water coming, then these ecosystems cannot survive anymore, but they die. And as they are the most beautiful and the most diverse ecosystem that we can think of, that is an immense loss for us. There was an event in 2014 to 2017 where a huge amount of bleaching is happening all around the world. There was a big discussion on why this is happening. Traditionally, the explanation for this type of bleaching has been that there is something which is called El Niño that happens in the sea currents. And there is a complicated system between the atmosphere and the oceans that builds this type of unusual warm water to appear in different parts of the southern seas. And as a result of that, these ecosystems are faced with very unusual conditions, and they cannot stand that. So we can say that reefs, coral reefs, are a kind of a signs of these changes that are happening in our climate and in our ecosystems around the world. And that should be such a sign that it really makes us to think that we should do more about protecting. Because previously, when this bleaching happened as a result of these El Niños, they were able to recover. The coral bleaching was a temporary event, and then they recover because sort of the normal variation of the water temperatures came back. But now the scientists are really worried that this time, after the bleaching, the recovery will not be there. And that is because there is a constant increase of the temperature of those waters, of those oceans around the world. And that makes a very different situation, obviously, because then there is no such a recovery that we can expect to happen. So what does this tell to us? This tells us that this is one of the most important signs here in our biosphere and in the oceans, that something is going totally in the wrong direction. And we should really start to act on taking some of these atmospheric carbon, but also other components that are harming our atmosphere away. So the climate policy is needed in such a way that we really radically can lower the concentration of the greenhouse gases, because otherwise these coral reefs will be gone, and also, of course, many other very diverse, very bad phenomena will happen as a result of the warming. So warming is definitely a bad thing, even though we might sometimes think that in the countries like here in Finland or somewhere it's nice that the weather gets warmer. But that is a very short-sighted comfort, because we know so well now that the global ecosystems will not survive that type of the rapid rise of the temperature. The history actually, the geological history shows that, well, the ecosystems may survive if the change is slow enough, because then they have a time to adapt. And in this type of very rapid change, there is no adaptation, there is no time for that. And that's why these type of the precious ecosystems are about to die if we don't do anything about it. So that's a tall order in terms of having this problem that we all now can see and becomes very visible. But the response to that problem has been still very, very on the almost non-existent level when you think about the scale of the problem. And that's why I think we should all study much more what's actually happening in the nature. Coral reefs are, of course, one example, but there are plenty of others that we can observe of those ecosystems that are changing because of this warming of the climate, and also this appearance of the more extreme weather events. So all of that should be a clear sign of us. We need to move forward, and we need to do something to prevent these things from happening. Hope you will be a part of that. Subscribe to my channel and learn more about the big global challenges from there.